then I can tell the story. And I think you need to listen to what he has to say about this story here, because can't nobody tell the story like he can tell the story. Tell it. So I want to introduce y'all this morning. I got to introduce y'all this morning. Pastor Swan will be back after I finish preaching the message today. But I felt like I need to tell y'all my story. You see, there's nobody that can tell it like I can tell it. Well, and see, Pastor Swan gave you the first point, and that was don't get comfortable in the field. All right. Well, let me give you the second point. The second point is never obey the crow commandments. Look at somebody and say, never obey the crow commandments. Now let me say at the outset that we all got some crows in our life. Every crow's not black. That's right. Every crow is not white. Well, there's some black crows. There's some white crows. There's some brown crows. There's some yellow crows. There's some brother crows. There's some sister crows. There's some Kojic crows. Some Baptist crows. There's some Methodist crows. Some young crows. Some old crows. Some of y'all dated some crows. Some of y'all slept with some crows. Y'all ain't gonna help me in here. There are crows in your family. Some of y'all divorced some crows. Every crow that you know has the same mentality, and that is they all want you to stay in the field. Because your freedom signals their demise. If you are liberated, they lose their meal ticket. As long as you're on the pole, unable to dream, stuck in your position of powerlessness, you give power to the crows in your life, because crows want you to go against your purpose and ignore your anointing and to stay in the field. Pastor, be back after a while, Ricky. Now, notice, if you will, when they showed that clip of me, I had to repeat some crow commandments. They made me recite the crow commandments, and the crow commandments will mess you up. Because the number one crow commandment was, thou shalt honor all crows. In other words, you have to believe that the crows are superior to you. And as long as you believe the crows are superior to you, then you will stay in your position in the field. All right. You are never to believe that you're on the same level as the crows, because you have to honor all crows. In addition to that, the other thing that messes me up is you will see the repetitive scenarios if you watch the whole film where I attempt to pull some stuffing out of my body and began to read. If you watch your homework assignment, go home and watch the entire movie. You'll find that I pull little messages out of my body and I began to read. And then the crows would respond, oh, come on now. And so notice, if you will, the second crow commandment was, thou shalt not read. That's right. Did y'all catch that? Yeah. And that's fascinating. Here are some crows telling me, a young man who has some potential but don't know it, don't bother reading. Because why? Because reading will liberate me. That's right. Young folk, let me tell you, you need to get up on Facebook and Twitter and all that other stuff and get you a book and read. Reading will liberate your mind. Reading will expand your mind. Reading will open up new horizons. do is get on it and play games and do social media. Come on, somebody. They've got the entire information superhighway in front of them. They can read until the cows come home, but ask them when the last time they read a book. Matter of fact, ask the adult sitting next to you, what's the title of the latest book that you read? Would you push somebody and say, read something, please? If you learn how to read, you come down off that pole. If you start reading, you realize that you were created in the image of God. And we can't have that kind of empowerment in our community, because while you're up on the pole, you may not recognize what the crows have known all along, that there's power inside of you. There's a word inside of you. There's a message inside of you. Now the third, Deacon Thomas, the third commandment that the crows gave me, and this is important. They told me, Sister April, thou shalt never come down off that pole. In other words, stay in your position. Don't you ever have the audacity to think outside the box. If you ever think you can run the whole country, guess what? We're going to get a whole bunch of Tea Party crows to remind you that you weren't supposed to come out the field in the first place. Don't come down off that pole. If you ever decide you're going to apply for the top job, we're going to get some racist crows to remind you that we don't have black and brown people in the top job. You weren't supposed to come down off that pole. Well. And they had me believing, Mother Collins, that I was stupid. I believed the stereotype that the crows had created for me. And this belief system isn't something that I created. The crows designed it for me and miseducated me, and then I started operating with a crow mentality. And there's some folk in here today, I suspect, are just like me, that you're operating with a crow mentality. Part of the challenge is we believed everything that the crows told us. Yeah, I recognize we're in a state of emergency. I recognize the dropout rate is 50% for black boys. I recognize that we're filling up the tails. However, this is not part of our DNA. This is not who we are. This is not who God created us to be. And thank God there are some brothers and sisters who didn't listen to the crows in their life. And if you're one of those brothers who made it out in the field, if you're one of those sisters who made it out of the field, if you came down from the pole, stepped out of that place, then it's your duty to make sure somebody else comes out of the field. Don't you walk out the field and leave everybody else in the field. Come on, somebody. Touch somebody and tell them your job is to get the others out the field. Now, if you're stuck up there on the pole with a crow mentality, you need to come down. You can't listen to all the crows in the media telling you you can't learn. You can't listen to the crow, and we got crows that look like us. You can't listen to the crows on BET, young men, telling you that it's all about a big butt and a smile. Okay, y'all acting like y'all don't hear people talk like this. Y'all see it on Facebook, you watch it on TV, quit acting like you so, whoo, did he say that? Act like y'all ain't heard that before. Young ladies, you got some crows that are making you think that it's all about lips, hips, and fingertips. And what difference do it make if you got lips, hips, and fingertips, but ain't nothing up here? God help me preach in here. I'm so tired of looking on Facebook and seeing the sexy face challenge, the sexy that challenge. How about the good credit challenge? Y'all don't want to do that one, right? Come on, brother. How about the I take care of my kids challenge? Come on, young lady. How about I got a job and an education challenge? Y'all believe in all them crows. The crows on BET, on MTV. Y'all got crows on Facebook and Twitter. Stop listening to the crows. You got to know that we are more than what they told us we are. You got the fingers of a Herbie Hancock. You got the breath of a Wynton Marsalis. You got the intellect of a Henry Louis Gates. You got the hermeneutical prowess of a Jeremiah Wright. You got the poetic touch of a Saul Williams. You got the business mind of a Tom Burrell. You got the educational acumen of a Robert Michael Franklin. Don't listen to the crows, because if you listen to the crows, you'll always stay stuck on that pole. Would you ask your neighbor, is you stuck on the pole? You see, for one reason or another, you can decide to confound the world. From the moment we landed in America, set it up so that we stay in the field. Can you imagine that? An entire government was against a group of people, but look at what God has done. The resources of the wealthiest country on the planet were designed to keep you in one particular place, but look how God has transformed the country. Now just look in the front door of the White House and see who's running this crow country. Y'all won't help me preach it here. See, crows don't really have the authority that we give them. You have to understand this and stop thinking small. Stop thinking like crows, as Paul writes in Romans 12 and 2. Do not be conformed to the culture of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. In other words, you can't be thinking like the crows. You got to renew your mind. He was talking to the folk who were listening to the Roman crows. And the Roman crows were saying, stop following this man Jesus. You need to follow Caesar. They were telling them that Caesar was the Son of God. But Paul was saying, stop listening to these Roman crows. You need to renew your mind, because if you get your mind straight, like George Clinton said, everything else will follow. If you get your mind straight, your body will follow. You get your mind straight, your money will follow. You get your mind straight, your relationships will follow. Get your mind right, and everything else will follow. If you get your mind straight, tell somebody, get your mind straight. All of a sudden you'll see a world in a completely different way. God is calling his people to renew their minds and not to be miseducated by these crows. Well, Brother Scarecrow, how do I tell who the crows are? See, you got to be careful. You can always tell crows. However, you can't just look at, gotta fix my hat. You can't just look at, my hood messed up? Come fix my hood. Go sit down. You good, man. See, you can't just look at the exterior and detect a crow, because there are some crows who look good to you. Some of y'all dated some of them. Them crows had swag, didn't they?